Hello, welcome to Launch in India podcast. Today I have Juan, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Discover. Uh, the Launch in India podcast is specifically designed for the founders who are looking to learn more about the generic informations or anything that can touch upon the basic on the strategy side or the GTM side of the things. Today, Juan, who has already invested his so much of the time in growing the Discover from scratch, let the words coming up from the guest mouth directly. Juan, over to you.
Hi, it's great to join you today. As he said, I'm Juan Bruce, co-founder and chief strategy officer of Discover. My background is a mixture of being a founder, an investor across Web2 and Web3. Spent about 25 years building startups and working on products. And then since 2016, I've been in crypto. So it gives me kind of a unique position in having a lot of the traditional product experience combined with crypto. So a brief background on my journey here. Went to Stanford undergrad for product design, got a master's in engineering focused on human-computer interaction, and then worked for BMW's technology office, integrating tech into the cars as well as investing in it. Then went to the design firm IDEO and worked on early mobile devices. So things like Palm, Handspring, some certain fruit products we can never technically take credit for, but many people know that we worked on now. And then started IDEO's product strategy practice, applying design thinking to broader startup business problems. That got me going back to Stanford for business school. When I got out, I went down to LA, where I am now, and worked in a partnership with the William Morris Entertainment Agency, building products off of celebrity and entertainment brands. So we did things like creating Britney Spears perfume, which became the largest selling fragrance line in the world. We did work for Interscope Records to expand beyond just music, and that led to things like Beats by Dre. Then I ran a studio for another big global innovation firm called Design Continuum. We did a lot of work in online video and social media. This was right when Facebook and Twitter and YouTube were coming about. And a lot of companies, including Hollywood studios and networks, were trying to figure out the impact it would have. That work led me to meeting and working with Robert Downey Jr.'s company, and eventually becoming the president of digital and launching his venture fund focused on media tech. We also built some technology internally. One of those projects became a company called Epoxy, where we built tools for all the biggest online video creators, influencers, publishing across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Vine, and Snapchat, and kind of became the de facto tool set in that early kind of YouTube and social influencer era for unified publishing for all these creators and networks. And that actually led me to crypto. Right before we sold that company, I saw the rise of the crypto creator, which was fascinating because it was a brand new industry that was social media marketing first. And so I followed and did case studies on some of these early social influencers in crypto. And that led to me and some of my Stanford friends investing in crypto. And that syndicate turned into a fund called Enigma Capital, which actually had top quartile and sometimes top 10% performance from 2016 to 2019. Then in kind of an unusual turn, we had the offer to have our GP of the fund acquired by a spin out of Boston Consulting Group's digital ventures called NAX. Well, at the time it was called 55 Foundry, but it became called NAX. And so came in to do the investing side of that. Like BCG Digital Ventures, NAX was focused on building startups and digital transformations with big corporate partners. But in this case, we focused on blockchain, fintech, and AI. And so it was a really interesting time kind of to dive into that. I also ran the investing side of that, working with our partners. But then, a good friend and an engineer that I worked with previously, Rick Porter, who was my co-founder at Discover, started building Discover, which was, a completely on-chain Web3 social network, which of course immediately engaged my background, having spent since 2016 in crypto, and then of course the more than a decade before that building in social media. And I also didn't mention that I actually worked on an early feed-based social network even prior to Facebook in the early 2000s before going to business school. And then after business school, I also worked on Facebook Open Graph applications and was very close to the early Facebook team. So immediately, all these thoughts ran through my head, and I ended up both investing and joining Rick and our other co-founder, Alex, on the journey in building Solana, which is now one of the leading, or building Discover on Solana, which is now one of the leading Web3 social networks.
Crazy journey, for sure.
Yes.
I think you have been to the whole, the Web2 starting up, the Web3 starting up, the transition, and like you really have tasted all the wins and the losses of the markets as well. Like really, inspiring to the people. So if we can, tune the questions toward the Discover, we just wanted to understand that. Can you just tell us about the vision behind the Discover? Also, what does that thing that inspired you to create like a decentralized social platform? Because the platform exists right now, right? People are interacting to their friends, to their families. They are now sharing the memes and whatnot, right? But what was the drive to create like a decentralized social platform is the main question.
Absolutely. So a big driver in it was going back to my original work with those crypto influencers and running the crypto fund Enigma Capital, and realizing that social media is a massive driver of crypto. I mean, I think we see it in the references all the time to what's happening on social. But the irony is that none of the Web2 social platforms was built for crypto, right? Or built with crypto technology. So it's always people trying to adapt it. And if you talk to founders, they're always talking about their struggles in making social media work for them, right? And getting, social management is often one of the biggest hurdles. So that was one of the big motivating factors. Of course, we also wanted to do things like, have it on chain and deal with issues like censorship. But whereas a lot of other social networks were really obsessed with the decentralization, which we are, we were more obsessed with, okay, what are the use cases and what are the things that people can't do on Web2 social that you should be able to do that we can enable in Web3 social. And so we always really stay grounded to user research, and that comes out of our Web2 experience. And one of the big things that emerged was really the fintech components to social media. And if you think about the history of social media, when most of Web2 social came about, fintech hardly existed. I mean, you maybe had early PayPal, you had no Venmo, you definitely didn't have a lot of the robust kind of B2B SaaS fintech infrastructure. So initially, social media grew up without a strong fintech layer. And so you saw things like Facebook's Open Graph, which took off massively with people building applications that were really cool for users. They were really cool for brands. And then because there was no fintech, it couldn't internally compete with, Facebook's own ad tech business. And ad tech really crushed it. And we ended up, where we are today, where everybody is stuck in a box having to deal with Facebook and Twitter's, very prescriptive advertising slots and the way that brands work with it. And consumers suffer too, because it's not interesting. So we really zoomed in on that part and said, okay, how can we bring transactional capability into the platform for users and for brands and projects? And how can we build a robust API and that allows projects to integrate applications, dApps, games, you name it, into the experience. And that's really been the key insight that made it take off, because those are things you can't do on the big Web2 socials.
Right. I mean, definitely. And I think the history repeats itself. I mean, the users would want to, I mean, they're doing some tangible activities on the socials, but are they getting, incentivized out of it? And I think this question is like really bigger question now for sure. Second is, Juan, that it's a general trivia in our industry where people say that the user experience of Web3 is kind of very sometimes like a friction for the traditional
Absolutely.
users to come on board, right?
Absolutely.
So people just trying to say that, hey, we don't need like another rocket science technology where the users have to learn a new category out of it. It's just that how we can just seamlessly, provide like a UX uh, for them to move, from let's say Instagram to Discover, for example, where
Yep.
like a typical Web2 stack to like a blockchain technology, right? Were there any complexities faced by the team, or how does the UX thing that was really get solved?
Yeah, I mean, so we spend a lot of time on UX, and again, that comes back to our Web2 experience, and my
Mhm.
experience working at IDEO, where IDEO is famous for doing
Mhm.
some of the best interfaces in the world, right? In the early internet era. And so we really wanted to make it feel like something that a Web2 user could onboard and not have to worry about the intricacies of blockchain. So users can bring their own wallet, but if they don't know anything about wallets, we give them a wallet, which is non-custodial, which is tied into their login. So they don't have to think about it. It's just within the interface. And, we really focus on frictionless transactions in that interface. So I'll give you a good example. We have a ad unit that is also has transactions in it, so that projects can advertise their project and do an airdrop at the same time. And we've made this super fluid to where you're scrolling in the feed, you discover it, you click through screens, or you watch video, you learn about what you're about to receive, and it's a very integrated experience without a lot of clicking and doing Web3 things that you wouldn't expect. And then you just see your asset in your wallet visualization, which is a combination of both your Discover wallet and any external wallets you've connected, right in the product. So we're really trying to make it fluid. And then we did things like building our own edge network to make everything very responsive. So you're never really aware that all of these things, if some piece of content is trending, you're never limited by the speed to which this can be, written to chain or read from chain. So that, yeah, there's a lot of focus on how do we make it usable and how do we make it so that next generation can onboard. Because really, today we're serving the user that is, passionate about some segment of crypto, whether it's DeFi or NFTs or gaming, and they're discovering new projects early on because we have a great targeting engine to help them discover. And those projects are helping give them drops and become part of the community. But tomorrow, that could be, Red Bull doing a video ad that has an NFT coupon that all of a sudden ends up in your Discover wallet, and you take it to the store and you open up your Discover wallet and show them that QR code and like that user might have no idea that this is actually Web3 enabled, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think I mean, you passively answered my, next question as I was about to ask. But before that, since we have spoken about the users and the UX, would you be comfortable, mentioning a number of users that are on the platform right now? Is there any traction that can be publicly available?
Absolutely, and there's actually a great article in our network from last fall, and so we exceeded 1 million monthly unique visitors,
Okay.
and we're regularly doing between 50 and 100,000 daily active users that are logged in and doing transactions. So as far as we know, those are leading stats within Web3 social. And our network also did a comparison of transactions through our API versus Farcaster's frames. And we were also doing a multiple of the transactions that Farcaster is doing in frames. So it's an interesting company in that we do very little marketing. Again, being Web2 people, we don't have a token out now.
Sure.
So we really feel that it's best to develop a product organically without kind of, doing a lot of marketing that makes it harder to find organic product market fit. And so a lot of people haven't heard about us, but we're really driving pretty significant numbers for the space.
Got it. So, I mean, definitely, and I think one of the the key factor is that I think all the three questions are coming down to the one single conclusion: the Web2 understanding to building in the Web3, right? So this essentially tells that the experience of the Web2 and the Web3 is just a new technology stack, but it's not like creating like another blockchain centric new applications that change the human behavior, for that matter. So again, being said, Juan, that whenever this new technology emerges or new opportunity opens, it always comes with some sense of challenges and some sense of opportunities as well. And if I talk about our industry, that's like the market movement. Essentially talk about as like advantage and the disadvantage as well. Were there any been through the complete journey like a no token company so far, already almost 1 million monthly active users, and hopefully will grow with a certain percentage as well. If there's any limitations or challenges that could be tuned down like a learning for the fellow founders, I think that would be like really helpful.
Yeah, sure. So I will say, it's not completely Web2 knowledge. Definitely, we've built a combination of going back to our Web2 knowledge when you talk about things like simple interfaces, but there's a lot of psychology and understanding the user that goes back to our Web3, experience since 2016. And that's really because when you're building an application like this, even though eventually you're targeting for the mass user, your first users are crypto users. So you have to understand their psychology and what appeals to them. So we found big things in doing our user research, like crossover into a gaming mentality, right? That we feed, and gamification throughout the platform, which you're seeing some of in Web2 applications, and you have for the last decade or so, but it is really much stronger when it comes to Web3. So we have a whole point system. We have streaks and different activities that you can do to engage, to earn points. And then those points create higher qualification levels for things like drops, special exposures to content from our brand partners, special content in the feed, and opportunities like that. And so that was really an area where we spent a lot of time because we realized that was something that the user was into. And then, of course, you just have to bring in the content and make sure that you're being hip to the topics that people care about in this space when you're getting started. And so you definitely need to be kind of keyed into the psychology of the Web3 user when you're launching a product like this. And I think we were very good at that from the beginning. Our original group of users was really passionate about it. Funny backstory about this was originally it was a side project. It wasn't something where we're like, we're going to start this, we're going to go out, raise money. We were all doing other jobs. And then it just took off organically and it started to grow user to user, right? And then that's when we started having conversations with Polychain, who is our lead investor, and some of our other great investors like Shima, and ended up then getting our Web2 investors interested, like Upfront Ventures, which is an awesome media tech fund out of LA, and Bertelsmann's Digital Media Investments, the big German media company that has an awesome media focused fund out of New York, and the round really came together. But that wasn't kind of the original vision. It kind of happened organically. But I'd say you have to focus on that. Eventually, and this is more my experience from having been an investor. Marketing is a really tricky proposition in Web3 and crypto, because especially if you're building a traditional product like we are, because it's almost like you're building two products at the same time. One, you're building your traditional product with all the good product marketing like you do in Web2. And the second is you're building towards your token, which will be a product. And that has its own whole own marketing and everything going on around it. And they don't always perfectly intersect in the user base. Like a lot of times early on, those Web3 users can be the same. But if you're talking about something like Discover, where the end marketing goal is to go beyond Web3 and even be Web2, that's a whole other marketing target than marketing around what your project is, what your token will be, all of those things. So I would say that that's definitely a challenge that's interesting to think about. And I think sometimes founders just think about it as one and synonymous, but they're not always, right? Sometimes literally they can be two different products, right? The foundation and the token versus the actual product.
Crazy. What's the next for Discover?
Yeah, so we have some exciting things coming up. We've been going deep into AI. And as you've probably seen within the crypto space, the concept of AI agents and what they can do for crypto users and investors and how they can simplify their lives has been pretty significant. The issue there when you're trying to develop the social side of it is we all know that the Web2s are not that open. So we built an SDK that allows both developers of agents and people that want to test them and build them to come and test and build and have access to a great data set and some great tools that were built exactly for it. We're fortunate to be close to some of the developers in the ELIZA OS project and AI16Z. So we've contributed to their project and we've kind of worked closely with them, as well as taking a look at technologies from some of the bigger AI providers, whether that's OpenAI and Claude and some of those tools. And so we intend to continue to go deep and build in that space. And that's basically to build enabling tools for our brand partners. That, as I said earlier, one of their biggest tasks is often how do we manage our social, right? As well as for our users that just want to be able to experience kind of the advantage of what it means to operate an AI agent on their behalf in crypto. So, yeah.
Right. No, I mean, great. I mean, looking forward to have some AI agent, doing some social activity out there. I'm just trying to imagine that how cool it would be, right? That's all.
I've been playing around with it, and it's so cool. It's like one of the things that I wake up every day, and I'm like, I want to go try this and see what it's going to do. I'm going to add this to the task list. So yeah, it's fun.
No, I mean, absolutely. Would love to try it once it goes live. So definitely we'll have the crowd to also test it out as well.
Yeah, and I will say, just the SDK is already live. So if there are people out there that are building a social agent where they're like, we need social data, we need those things, come check out our SDK at DSCVR.one, and come check it out and build something.
All right, I think they will check it out and build something out of it as well. That's all from my side, Juan. It was nice catching up with you for sure. Looking forward to meeting with you in person or somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if anybody wants to follow me, I am at J Bruce on the old school socials on Twitter, and I'm also J Bruce on Discover. So come on out to dscvr.one and check out our product and see if there's something you want to build. And if so, hit me up.
Sure. Thanks, Juan.
All right. Take care.